My wife Karen texted me Thursday morning saying she was driving 3 hours to spend the weekend with our daughter Paula and son-in-law Brandon at their house in Spokane, and I told her to drive safe and have fun. But what I didn't tell her was that I'd already requested Friday off work 2 weeks ago, planning to surprise them all by showing up unannounced because Paula's 30th birthday was Saturday, and I'd coordinated with Brandon to bring the antique sewing machine that had belonged to Karen's grandmother that Paula had been asking about for years. So Friday afternoon, I loaded the carefully wrapped machine into my truck, drove the 3 hours listening to podcasts about true crime, arrived at their suburban neighborhood just as the sun was setting, pulled up to the 2-story colonial house with the blue shutters that we'd helped them buy 4 years ago with a down payment gift, walked up the stone pathway carrying the heavy wrapped present feeling excited about the surprise, and that's when old Mrs. Patterson from the house next door came running across her lawn in her bathrobe and slippers, waving her arms frantically and shouting, "Stop! Don't go in there! There's something you need to know." And her face was flushed, and her eyes were wide with something that looked like panic mixed with pity, and my stomach dropped because that expression on someone's face when they are looking at you never means anything good, never means your life is about to get better, only that it's about to get worse in ways you haven't imagined yet. And 5 minutes later, after Mrs. Patterson had grabbed my arm and pulled me into her house and told me in a rush of words what she'd witnessed over the past 3 days, I was standing in her living room with my phone in my shaking hand calling 911 while she nodded encouragement and whispered, "You're doing the right thing." And I realized that everything I thought I knew about my family, my marriage, my life, was about to shatter like glass hitting concrete. My name is Daniel Foster. I'm 53 years old, and this is the story of how I discovered my wife's betrayal, my daughter's complicity, and how I made them all pay for what they'd done. Let me back up 3 weeks to give you the context that makes what happened make sense. Karen and I had been married for 31 years. High school sweethearts who got married young, had Paula at 23, built what I thought was a solid life together. I worked as a civil engineer for the county, steady job with good benefits. Karen had been a stay-at-home mom until Paula went to college, then worked part-time at a bookstore because she liked being around books and people. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but whose is? We'd had rough patches over the years, arguments about money and Paula's teenage rebellion and Karen's mother's long illness, but we'd weathered it all, or so I thought. We had a routine, a comfortable rhythm, Friday date nights when we could manage it, Sunday morning coffee in bed, small kindnesses and familiar patterns. Paula had married Brandon 5 years ago. He was an insurance adjuster, decent guy, a little bland, but he treated Paula well, and that was what mattered. They'd bought the house in Spokane because Brandon got transferred there for work. It was far enough that we didn't see them constantly, but close enough for regular visits. Karen had been making these weekend trips to Spokane more frequently over the past 6 months. Once a month became twice a month, became nearly every other weekend. She'd say Paula needed help with projects around the house, or they were going shopping together, or she just wanted to spend time with her daughter. I never questioned it because it seemed natural for a mother and daughter to want time together. What I didn't know, what I was completely blind to, was that these visits weren't about Paula at all. 3 weeks before the incident, Karen had been acting different, distracted. She'd lost weight, started wearing makeup more often, bought new clothes. When I commented on it, she said she was just trying to take better care of herself, that she'd realized she'd let herself go and wanted to feel attractive again. "You look great," I told her. "I'm glad you're feeling good about yourself." "Thanks, honey," she'd said, but she hadn't quite met my eyes. 2 weeks before, I'd noticed her texting constantly. She'd always been on her phone, but this was different. She'd smile at the screen in a way that made something twist in my gut, though I told myself I was being paranoid. When I asked who she was texting, she said it was Paula, that they were planning a surprise for Brandon's birthday. I'd believed her because I wanted to believe her. Because after 31 years, you trust your spouse. You assume the best. You don't suspect that every late-night text and mysterious smile is evidence of something that will destroy you. The Thursday she left for Spokane, she'd kissed me goodbye, like always. "I'll be back Sunday evening. Love you." "Love you too. Tell Paula I said hi." "I will." She'd driven away in her Honda Pilot, and I'd watched from the driveway thinking how lucky I was to have a wife who was still close with our daughter, who made the effort to maintain family bonds. I'd been planning the surprise visit for 2 weeks. Paula's birthday was Saturday, and I'd arranged with Brandon to bring the sewing machine. We'd exchanged emails and texts coordinating the timing. He'd said to come Friday evening, that Paula would be thrilled, that Karen would love the surprise too. I should have noticed that Brandon's texts were weird. They were brief, almost nervous. But I was focused on the logistics of transporting a fragile antique and the pleasure of imagining their surprised faces. Friday afternoon, I loaded the truck, sent Brandon a text. "On my way, should arrive around 6:30. He responded, "Okay, just okay. Not great, or can't wait, just okay. But I didn't think about it. I was already on the road, windows down, music playing, feeling good about surprising my family. The drive was pleasant. Late September, leaves starting to turn, the kind of crisp weather that makes you feel alive. I stopped once for coffee and gas, texted Karen, "How's the visit going?" She didn't respond right away, which wasn't unusual. She was probably busy with Paula. I got to Spokane just before 6:30, navigated to the familiar neighborhood, pulled up to the house with the blue shutters. Brandon's car was in the driveway. Karen's Pilot was parked on the street. Lights were on inside. Everything looked normal. I got out of the truck, moved to the back to get the sewing machine. It was heavy, awkward to carry. I managed to get it up the pathway, was approaching the front door thinking about where to set it down so I could ring the doorbell when I heard a woman's voice shouting, "Wait, stop, don't go in there." I turned and saw Mrs. Patterson rushing across her lawn. She was maybe 70, thin and energetic, always friendly when we'd visited before, but now her face was twisted with something urgent and uncomfortable. "Mrs. Patterson?" I set the sewing machine down. "What's wrong?" She reached me, breathing hard. "Mr. Foster, Daniel, there's something you need to know before you go in that house." My heart started hammering. "Is someone hurt? Is Paula okay?" "No one's hurt, but you need to know what's been happening. Come to my house. Please. You need to hear this before you knock on that door." The tone of her voice, the look in her eyes, it was fear mixed with pity, the kind of look people give you when they're about to destroy your world and they know it. "Just tell me," I said. "Not out here, please. Come inside. 5 minutes. That's all I need." Something in me knew, some primal instinct that recognizes danger before your conscious mind catches up. My legs felt weak, but I followed her across the lawn to her house. She led me into her living room, gestured for me to sit. I stayed standing. "Tell me," I said. Mrs. Patterson took a breath. "Your wife has been visiting, yes, but not to see Paula. She's been seeing another man. He comes to the house when Brandon's at work. They're together now. I've seen them arrive separately, seen them through the windows. I've seen him kiss her goodbye. I thought at first maybe he was a contractor or something, but then I saw the way they were with each other, and I knew. I've been struggling with whether to tell you, and then I saw you pull up, and I couldn't let you walk in there not knowing." The words hit me like physical blows. "What?" "No. Karen's here with Paula. There." "Paula hasn't been home in 3 days," Mrs. Patterson said gently. "She and Brandon left Wednesday morning with suitcases. I think they went on a trip. Your wife arrived Wednesday afternoon, and this man showed up about an hour later. They've been in that house together since then." "That's impossible." Karen said, "I know what she probably said, but I'm telling you what I've seen. I live next door. I see everything. Your wife is having an affair, and your daughter's house is where they're meeting. I'm so sorry." I stood there processing, my brain refusing to accept the information. This was insane. Karen wouldn't cheat. Paula wouldn't facilitate it. Mrs. Patterson must be confused, but the look on her face wasn't confused. It was certain and sympathetic and devastating. "Who's the man?" I asked, my voice sounding distant. "I don't know his name. 50s, gray hair, drives a black Mercedes. Well-dressed. They look comfortable together, like they've been doing this a while." My hands were shaking. I pulled out my phone, looked at it like it might have answers. I should call Karen, confront her. But what if Mrs. Patterson was wrong? What if there was an explanation? "You don't believe me," Mrs. Patterson said. "I understand, but I wouldn't lie about something like this. I've been watching this happen all week, wondering if I should say something. I almost called you myself, but I thought maybe I was misinterpreting. But when I saw you pull up with that wrapped gift, looking so happy, I couldn't let you walk into that situation unprepared." "What should I do?" I asked. "Call the police." "The police? Why? Infidelity isn't illegal." "No, but they're in your daughter's house without her permission, from what I can tell. Paula and Brandon are out of town. Your wife let this man into their house. That's trespassing. At minimum, it'll force a confrontation with witnesses present. It'll prevent violence or anyone claiming things happened that didn't happen. Trust me on this." I thought about it. My first instinct was to storm over there, kick the door down, confront them. But Mrs. Patterson was right. That could go bad in 100 ways. If I called the police, there would be official documentation, witnesses. "No," he said, she said. "Okay," I said. "I'll call." I dialed 911 with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The operator answered. 911, what's your emergency?" "I need to report a trespassing situation. My daughter's house at 2847 Maple Street. There are people inside without her permission. She's out of town." "Are you at the location now?" "I'm next door. I was coming to visit, and the neighbor informed me of the situation. Are the individuals armed or dangerous? No, but I need officers here to document this. Sending a unit now, and stay where you are. Officers will arrive within 10 minutes. I hung up. Mrs. Patterson was watching me with sad eyes. You're doing the right thing, she said. Am I? I'm calling the cops on my wife. You're protecting yourself and documenting the truth. When this goes to divorce court, and it will, you'll need every bit of evidence you can get. Divorce. The word made something in me crack. 31 years. 3 decades of marriage. Gone because Karen decided to sleep with some guy in our daughter's house while Paula was conveniently out of town. Does Paula know? I asked. Is she part of this? Mrs. Patterson hesitated. I can't say for certain, but her leaving right when your wife arrived, with suitcases for multiple days, it looks planned. I'm sorry. My daughter, my only child, had helped facilitate her mother's affair, let Karen use her house as a love nest, lied to me about it. The betrayal was so complete, so absolute, that I couldn't fully process it. My brain kept trying to find other explanations, ways this could be innocent. But there weren't any. I heard sirens in the distance. Mrs. Patterson heard them too. They're almost here, she said. Whatever happens next, remember you didn't cause this. They did. All of them. The sirens got louder. 2 police cruisers pulled up in front of Paula's house. 4 officers got out. I walked outside, across the lawn, my legs moving on autopilot. Are you the caller? One officer asked. Yes, Daniel Foster. That's my daughter's house. She's out of town. My wife is inside with another man. They don't have permission to be there. How do you know they're inside? The neighbor witnessed them entering together. My wife's car is parked on the street there. She told me she was visiting our daughter, but our daughter isn't home. And your daughter didn't give her permission to be in the house? Not that I'm aware of, but I need to confirm what's happening. I need to see this. The officer looked at his partner, then at me. Sir, we'll knock on the door and investigate. Please stay here. That's my wife in there. I'm going with you. Sir, I'm going with you. She doesn't know I'm here. She thinks I'm home in Seattle. I need to see her face when she realizes she's caught. The officer studied me for a moment, probably assessing whether I was going to cause a problem. Whatever he saw made him nod. Stay behind us. Let us handle this. No contact until we say it's clear. Understood? Understood. We approached the house. The officers took positions on either side of the door. One knocked, loud and official. Spokane Police. Open the door. Nothing happened for maybe 30 seconds. Then I heard movement inside. Voices. Footsteps. The door opened a crack, and there was Karen, wearing a bathrobe I didn't recognize, her hair messy, her face flushed. When she saw the police, her expression was confusion. When she saw me standing behind them, it was pure terror. Daniel, what are you? Ma'am, are you Karen Foster? The officer asked. Yes, but do you have permission to be in this residence? This is my daughter's house. I'm visiting. Your daughter, Paula, and her husband, Brandon, are out of town, correct? Karen's face was cycling through emotions so fast I could barely track them. Confusion, fear, guilt, panic. How did you... Is there another individual inside with you? This isn't what... Ma'am, I need you to answer the question. Is there another person inside this residence? A man's voice from behind her. What's going on? The officer's hand moved to his weapon, not drawing it, but ready. Sir, come to the door, now. A man appeared behind Karen. 50s, gray hair, expensive casual clothes, barefoot, looking confused and alarmed. Officers, what's this about? Are you the homeowner? No, I'm a friend. A friend of the homeowner. A friend of Karen's. And did the homeowner give you permission to be here? The man looked at Karen, realization dawning. This is her daughter's house. She said, I'm the homeowner's father, I said, stepping forward. My daughter Paula and son-in-law Brandon are in Montana. They didn't give permission for anyone to be in their house. I have their contact information. Call them? The officer looked at me, then at Karen and the man. Everyone step outside, please. They came out onto the porch. Karen was crying now. Daniel, please, I can explain. Don't, I said. Don't say a word to me. The officer separated us, started asking questions. Got Paula's phone number from me, called her. I could hear his side of the conversation. Ms. Harper, this is Officer Sullivan with Spokane PD. I'm at your residence. Are you aware that your mother and another individual are currently in your house? You did give permission? For both of them? I see. And when did you give this permission? Okay. Thank you. He hung up, looked at me. Your daughter says she gave her mother permission to stay at the house while she was away. Says she's aware of the male guest. It's not trespassing if the homeowner gave permission. My world tilted. You're telling me Paula knew? She gave permission for this? According to her, yes. I looked at Karen, who was clutching the bathrobe closed, tears streaming down her face. Then at the man, who looked embarrassed and defensive. Then back at the officer. Can I speak to my daughter? That's between you and her, sir. As far as we're concerned, no crime has been committed. The homeowner gave permission for the guests. This is a domestic situation, not a legal one. So you're just going to leave? There's nothing for us to do here. I'm sorry, sir. The officers started walking back to their cars. I stood there on my daughter's lawn, betrayal washing over me in waves. Karen took a step toward me. Daniel, please let me explain. Who is he? I asked, my voice cold. His name is Gregory. We met at the bookstore. How long? 6 months. And Paula knows? Karen nodded miserably. She knows. She offered to let us use the house when she and Brandon went on trips. She said she wanted me to be happy. She wanted you to be happy. The words tasted like poison. My daughter helped you cheat on me because she wanted you to be happy. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You've been sleeping with this guy in our daughter's house, with her blessing, for 6 months, while lying to me about visiting Paula, making a fool of me. I'm sorry, Karen sobbed. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. You did hurt me. You and Paula both. You destroyed our family for this? I gestured at Gregory, who was standing awkwardly in the doorway looking like he wanted to disappear. We can work through this, Karen said desperately. Marriage counseling. We can fix... There's nothing to fix, I said. We're done. Get your shit and get out of my sight. I turned and walked back to my truck. Got in, slammed the door, sat there gripping the steering wheel while my vision blurred with tears. Behind me, I could hear Karen crying. I didn't care. I started the engine and drove away, leaving the sewing machine on the lawn, leaving my wife in her boyfriend's arms, leaving the last remnants of my old life scattered like debris on that suburban street. I drove for 20 minutes without knowing where I was going, pulled into a grocery store parking lot and sat there while the reality of what had happened crashed over me in waves. My wife had been cheating for 6 months. My daughter had helped her do it. They'd both been lying to me, pitying me, treating me like an obstacle to Karen's happiness rather than a person with feelings and rights. I called Paula. She answered on the 3rd ring. Dad? The police called. Are you in Spokane? Yes. I came to surprise you for your birthday. Imagine my surprise when the neighbor told me about Mom's boyfriend. Silence. Then, Dad, I can explain. Explain what? That you've been helping Mom cheat on me? That you let them use your house as a love nest? That you've been lying to me for 6 months? It's not like that. Then what's it like, Paula? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my daughter betrayed me to help my wife sleep with another man. Don't be crude. Don't be crude? You're facilitating infidelity, and I'm the one who needs to watch my language? Mom was unhappy. She's been unhappy for years. She needed something for herself, something that made her feel alive. I couldn't watch her suffer anymore. So you decided to help her destroy our marriage instead of talking to me, instead of suggesting counseling, instead of doing literally anything that didn't involve deception and betrayal? You wouldn't have understood. You would have made it about you. It is about me. I'm her husband. When your spouse is unhappy, you talk about it. You work on it together. You don't sneak around behind their back with your daughter's help. Dad, I'm sorry you're hurt, but Mom deserves to be happy. She's given her whole life to us. She deserves something for herself. And I don't? I've worked for 30 years to provide for this family. I've been faithful and present and supportive. But none of that matters because Mom needs to feel alive by sleeping with some guy named Gregory. His name is Greg, and he's actually really nice. I don't give a damn what his name is or how nice he is. He's sleeping with my wife, with your mother, and you helped make it happen. Do you understand what you've done? I helped Mom find happiness. You destroyed your parents' marriage. Congratulations, Paula. I hope Mom's happiness was worth it. I hung up, threw the phone on the passenger seat, sat there shaking with rage and grief and disbelief. My daughter, my baby girl, the child I'd raised, supported through college, helped buy a house. She'd looked at her mother's affair and decided to enable it rather than protect her father, had decided that Karen's happiness mattered more than my pain. I thought about the past 6 months, all the times Karen had driven to Spokane claiming she was visiting Paula, all the weekends I'd been home alone thinking my wife and daughter were shopping or working on house projects. They'd been planning these romantic getaways instead, coordinating schedules, lying in concert. Brandon must have known too. He'd been texting me about the birthday surprise while knowing his mother-in-law was in his house screwing her boyfriend. The whole family had conspired against me. I needed to think, needed to plan. Going home to Seattle meant being alone in a house full of memories and lies. Staying in Spokane meant possibly running into Karen or Greg or having to explain myself to more neighbors. I checked into a hotel, got a room, sat on the bed, and started making lists. First, lawyer. I needed to file for divorce immediately before Karen could drain bank accounts or hide assets. Second, document everything. Get Mrs. Patterson to write a statement about what she witnessed, get copies of Karen's phone records showing months of communication with Greg, build an airtight case. Third, figure out what to do about Paula. She was an adult, made her own choices. I couldn't control her, but I didn't have to maintain a relationship with someone who'd betrayed me this profoundly. I called my brother Stephen. He lived in Portland, was a divorce attorney himself, though he'd refer me to someone else to handle my case. Danny, what's going on? Karen's been having an affair. Paula helped her, I just found out. I'm in Spokane at a hotel. I need a lawyer. Jesus, are you okay? No, but I need to act fast. Can you help me? Of course. I'll call a colleague in Seattle, someone who handles complex divorces. His name is Michael Brennan. He's excellent. I'll have him call you tomorrow. Thanks. Danny, I'm sorry. This is awful. Do you need me to come up there? No, I just need to get through this. Call me if you change your mind. Anytime. We hung up. I ordered room service, ate mechanically, and spent the evening researching Washington state divorce law. It was a no-fault state, meaning Karen's infidelity wouldn't impact the division of assets, but it might impact alimony, and it would definitely impact my willingness to be generous. I slept poorly, waking every couple hours with my mind racing. By sunrise, I'd made a decision. I was going to make Karen regret what she'd done, not through violence or revenge affairs or anything that made me look bad, but through systematic, methodical destruction of the life she'd built on lies. Saturday morning, Paula's birthday, I drove back to Seattle. Went to the house I'd shared with Karen for 20 years. It looked the same as when I'd left. Tidy, comfortable, full of photos and mementos from a marriage that had apparently been dead for at least 6 months. I started packing Karen's things. Not everything, just enough to make a point. Clothes, toiletries, personal items. Put it all in boxes and stacked them in the garage. Changed the locks on the house. Canceled her credit cards that were in my name. Removed her as beneficiary on my life insurance and retirement accounts. By Sunday afternoon, when Karen would normally return from her visit with Paula, I'd transformed the house from ours to mine. She called at 6 p.m. Daniel, I'm home. I'm so sorry about Friday. Please, can we talk? I'm at the house. Come get your things from the garage. You're not living here anymore. What? Daniel, please? Your stuff is in boxes in the garage. The locks have been changed. You can stay with Paula or Greg or whoever you want, but you're not staying with me. You can't just kick me out of my own house. Actually, I can. The house is in my name only. My parents gave us the down payment with the understanding it was my inheritance. Check the deed. You have no legal right to it. This is crazy. I made a mistake, but we can work through this. Your mistake lasted 6 months and involved our daughter. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. A series of choices. And now I'm making mine. Please don't do this. Come get your things, or I'm donating them tomorrow. Your choice. I hung up. She called back 6 times. I didn't answer. An hour later, she arrived with Paula. I watched through the window as they loaded boxes into Karen's Pilot. Watched Karen crying. Paula's arm around her. Both of them looking toward the house like they couldn't believe this was happening. I could believe it. This was the natural consequence of their actions. They'd broken trust, destroyed a family. Now they got to deal with the aftermath. They left. I locked the door and sat in the silent house that was now just mine. It felt empty but clean, like a wound that had been lanced, painful but necessary. Michael Brennan called Monday morning. We met at his office Tuesday. He was mid-40s, sharp, efficient. Stephen filled me in on the basics, Michael said. Your wife had an affair, your daughter facilitated it, you want a divorce? Walk me through everything. I did. Told him about the 6-month affair, Paula's involvement, the police being called, my conversation with Paula where she admitted knowing and enabling it. Here's the reality, Michael said when I finished. Washington is a no-fault state. The affair doesn't impact asset division. You'll split everything 50-50 unless you can prove waste of marital assets on the affair. Expensive gifts, trips, things like that. Can you prove that? I can go through the credit card statements, but I don't know what I'm looking for. I'll have a forensic accountant look. As for alimony, you make more than her, substantially more. She could claim she's entitled to maintenance. She works at a bookstore by choice. She could get a better job. Doesn't matter. Courts look at actual income, not potential. She's going to argue she sacrificed career opportunities to raise Paula and support your career. Given the length of the marriage, she'll probably win some level of maintenance. So she cheats on me and still gets my money? Unfortunately, yes, but we can minimize it. We can argue for rehabilitative maintenance only, and temporary support while she gets on her feet. And we can argue that her relationship with Greg impacts her need for support if he's providing for her. They're living together? Don't know yet, but if they are, that's leverage. We spent 2 hours going through strategy. Michael would file the divorce petition immediately. We'd request temporary orders preventing Karen from accessing certain accounts. We'd subpoena phone records to document the affair. We'd depose Paula if necessary to establish the timeline and extent of her involvement. One more thing, Michael said as we wrapped up. Understand that this is going to get ugly. Karen's going to hire her own lawyer. They're going to paint you as controlling, vindictive, unreasonable. They're going to argue you're overreacting to a mistake. Can you handle that? I've been handling betrayal from the two people I trusted most. I can handle whatever her lawyer says. Good. Keep your head down. Don't contact Karen except through me. Don't post on social media. Don't do anything that makes you look bad. Let her be the one who looks unreasonable. Understood. Divorce papers were filed Thursday. Karen was served Friday at the bookstore. According to the process server, she'd cried and said there must be a mistake, that we were working things out. We weren't working anything out. I was burning it all down. The next 3 months were warfare conducted through lawyers. Karen hired an attorney named Patricia Gomez, who immediately painted me as a vengeful spouse, punishing Karen for being honest about her needs. They filed motions claiming I'd illegally locked Karen out of the marital home, demanding I pay her rent for an apartment, seeking full access to all accounts. Michael countered every motion, pointed out the house was my separate property, that Karen had chosen to leave by engaging in an affair, that she had family she could stay with. The judge split the difference, ruled the house was mine, but I had to pay Karen temporary support of $2,000 a month until the divorce was finalized. Fine, I'd pay it. But I wasn't giving her $1 more than legally required. The forensic accountant found evidence of waste. Over 6 months, Karen had spent $12,000 on new clothes, jewelry, hotel rooms, and dinners. All on credit cards I paid off. She'd been funding her affair with marital assets. Michael filed an amended petition seeking reimbursement for that waste. Karen's attorney argued it was normal spending for a woman in her 50s trying to feel confident. Michael countered that it was spending to facilitate an affair and should be reimbursed to the marital estate. The discovery process was brutal. We subpoenaed Karen's phone records, showing thousands of texts and calls to Greg's number. We subpoenaed her email, finding love notes and explicit messages. We deposed Paula, who admitted under oath that she'd known about the affair from the beginning, had offered her house as a meeting place, and had lied to me repeatedly to cover for her mother. Did you feel any guilt about lying to your father? Michael asked during the deposition. I felt bad, Paula said. But I felt worse watching my mom be unhappy. She gave up everything for us. She deserved to have something that made her happy. Even if that something was infidelity. She tried to talk to Dad about their problems. He didn't listen. When did she try to talk to him? I don't know specific dates, but she told me she'd tried. Did you ever witness these attempts? No. So you're relying on your mother's characterization of her attempts to communicate with your father? Yes. Did it occur to you that your mother might be justifying her affair by claiming she'd tried to fix the marriage when she actually hadn't? Objection, Patricia said. Calls for speculation. I'll rephrase. Did you ever ask your father if your mother had tried to discuss problems in their marriage? No. Why not? Because I believed my mom. The deposition made clear that Paula had chosen sides without even trying to get my perspective. She'd taken Karen's version of events as gospel and made decisions based on that. I'd been asked to attend the deposition, but Michael advised against it. You'll just get angry, and that won't help. Let me handle it. He was right. Reading the transcript was hard enough. Hearing Paula defend her actions while throwing me under the bus would have been unbearable. Karen and I were required to attempt mediation before trial. We met at a neutral office with a mediator, both attorneys present. It was the first time I'd seen Karen since the night I left Spokane. She looked terrible. Thin, tired, older than her 52 years. She tried to catch my eye when we sat down. I looked at my legal pad instead. The mediator explained the process. We'd discuss each issue, property division, support, retirement accounts, and try to reach agreement. If we couldn't, we'd go to trial. Let's start with the house, the mediator said. Mr. Foster claims it's his separate property. Mrs. Foster, what's your position? I lived there for 20 years, Karen said. I maintained it, decorated it, made it a home. I should get half its value. The house was purchased with a down payment from my parents as my inheritance, I said. Karen contributed nothing to the purchase. She has no ownership interest. I contributed my labor, which you did as my wife, not as a co-owner. The deed is in my name only. Washington law is clear that property acquired by gift or inheritance remains separate unless it's explicitly commingled. So I get nothing? After 30 years of marriage, I get nothing? You get half of everything we acquired during the marriage. The house isn't part of that. Karen started crying. Patricia put a hand on her arm. This is exactly the kind of vindictive behavior. It's not vindictive, Michael interrupted. It's following the law. The house is separate property. Mrs. Foster isn't entitled to it. We went back and forth for 3 hours. I agreed to split retirement accounts 50-50, even though most of the balance came from my earnings. I agreed to give Karen her car outright. I agreed to split furniture and personal property. But I wouldn't budge on the house or on limiting maintenance. I offered her 3 years of rehabilitative support at $1,500 a month. She wanted 10 years at $3,000 a month. You're trying to punish me, Karen said at one point, looking directly at me for the first time. You're using the divorce to hurt me because I hurt you. I'm protecting myself, I said calmly. You spent 6 months lying to me, stealing from our accounts to fund an affair, and recruiting our daughter to help you. I owe you nothing beyond what the law requires. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Every time you texted Greg. Every time you drove to Spokane. Every time you looked me in the eye and lied. Those were choices. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. I never meant for things to go this far. What did you think would happen? That I'd find out and be okay with it? I thought we could work through it. Go to counseling. Fix things. You don't fix a marriage by destroying it first. We didn't reach agreement. The mediator scheduled a second session for the following month. We left separately, Karen crying in the parking lot with Patricia, me walking to my car feeling nothing but relief that I'd held firm. Michael called that evening. You did great today. Didn't lose your temper, didn't give them ammunition. Patricia's going to push for trial if we don't settle, but I think Karen will crack before then. She doesn't want to testify under oath about the affair in front of a judge. What if she doesn't crack? Then we go to trial and we win. The evidence is overwhelming. She committed adultery, wasted marital assets, involved your daughter in the deception. No judge is going to reward that behavior. And Paula? What about her? Can I do anything about her involvement? Legally? No, she's an adult. She didn't break any laws. Morally, she behaved terribly, but there's no legal recourse. I haven't spoken to her since the initial phone call. She's tried to reach out, but I've ignored her. That's your right. You're not obligated to maintain a relationship with someone who betrayed you, even if that person is your daughter. She's been posting on Facebook about how hurt she is that I'm cutting her out. Playing the victim. Block her. Don't engage. Let her tell whatever story she wants. You know the truth. I'd already blocked Paula on social media, but her friends had started reaching out asking what happened, why I was being so cold to my daughter during an already difficult time. I ignored them all. Let them think what they wanted. My reputation with Paula's social circle was the least of my concerns. The second mediation session a month later went no better than the first. Patricia had coached Karen to be more aggressive, to demand what she was entitled to rather than what was fair. It backfired. You had an affair, I said when she demanded half the value of the house. You destroyed our marriage. You don't get rewarded for that. I spent 30 years supporting you, and I spent 30 years providing for you. We're even. Take your half of the assets and move on. You're heartless. I'm practical. We're getting divorced because you cheated. That has consequences. We ended the session with no progress. Patricia told Michael she was filing for trial. See you in court, she said as she packed her briefcase. Looking forward to it, Michael replied. Trial was set for 6 weeks out. Michael spent those weeks preparing witnesses, organizing evidence, crafting arguments. I spent them working, going to the gym, trying to build a life that didn't revolve around betrayal and anger. I dated a woman named Laura for 3 weeks before realizing I wasn't ready. She was kind about it when I ended things. Call me if you change your mind, she said, but take time to heal first. She was right. I wasn't healed. I was just numb. 2 weeks before trial, Patricia called Michael with a settlement offer. Karen would accept 4 years of support at $2,000 a month, half of retirement accounts, her car, and half of the personal property. She'd release all claims to the house. She caved, Michael said when he called me. She doesn't want to testify. Greg probably doesn't want to testify either. Take the deal. 4 years is longer than I wanted. But it's not 10, and 2,000 is less than 3. You're paying $96,000 total. In a 30-year marriage with your income disparity, that's a win. I thought about it. 4 years of payments. $96,000. A number I could live with if it meant being done. Okay, I said. I'll take it. The settlement was drafted, signed, and filed with the court. The judge approved it without hearing. Just like that, 31 years of marriage dissolved into a legal document dividing assets and assigning obligations. Karen sent me an email after the decree was final. I know you'll never forgive me, but I want you to know I never stopped loving you. I just lost myself and made terrible choices. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. I hope someday you find happiness again. I deleted it without responding. I didn't want her apology. I didn't want her love. I wanted her gone from my life, and now she was. Paula kept trying to reach out. Emails, voicemails, even a letter sent to the house. All said the same thing. She was sorry I was hurt, but she stood by her decision to help Karen, and she hoped eventually we could rebuild our relationship. I finally responded with a single email. You chose your mother over me. You facilitated her affair and lied to me for 6 months. I don't forgive that. Don't contact me again. She didn't, or maybe she did, and I blocked it before seeing it. Brandon sent me a message a few months after the divorce finalized. I understand you're angry at Paula. I don't blame you, but I want you to know I wasn't aware of the extent of what was happening. I knew Karen was visiting, but I thought it was just mother-daughter time. When I found out about Greg being there, I was as shocked as you. I didn't believe him. He'd texted me coordinating the birthday surprise while knowing his mother-in-law was in his house. He'd known something, but I didn't have the energy to argue with him. I just replied, okay. A year after the divorce, I sold the house. It was too big for one person and too full of memories. I bought a condo downtown, modern and impersonal, a place to start over without ghosts. I went on dates, but nothing stuck. The trust was too damaged. Every time a woman seemed interested, I found myself looking for signs she was lying, hiding something, waiting to betray me. My therapist, Dr. Williams, worked with me on this. Not everyone is Karen, she said repeatedly. You're punishing new people for her mistakes. I'm protecting myself. You're isolating yourself. There's a difference. Maybe she was right, but isolation felt safer than vulnerability. I heard through mutual friends that Karen and Greg had broken up. Apparently, once the affair was exposed and no longer secret, it lost its appeal. Karen was living alone in an apartment, working at a different bookstore, trying to rebuild. Part of me felt satisfaction at that. Part of me just felt tired. Paula had a baby, a girl. She sent me an announcement, a photo of the infant, with the name Sophia written in calligraphy. I looked at the picture of my granddaughter and felt nothing. I should have felt joy, or at least curiosity. Instead, I felt only the distance that had grown between Paula and me. I didn't respond to the announcement, didn't send a gift, didn't acknowledge the birth in any way. Paula was a stranger now, someone I used to know who'd proven herself untrustworthy. Her daughter was a stranger's child. More time passed. I got promoted at work, bought a new truck, traveled to places I'd always wanted to see, built a life that was mine, uncomplicated by other people's needs or lies. 2 years after the divorce, on what would have been my 33rd wedding anniversary, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line was, I'm sorry. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. Dad, I know you don't want to hear from me. I respect that. But I need you to know something. Sophia is sick. She has leukemia. We caught it early and the prognosis is good, but she needs bone marrow. Brandon and I aren't matches. We've checked the registry but haven't found a donor yet. I'm asking, begging, if you'd get tested. You're her grandfather. You might be a match. I know I don't deserve your help. I know I destroyed our relationship. But Sophia is innocent. Please, for her. Paula. I read it 3 times. My granddaughter had leukemia. A 2-year-old child was sick and needed help, and Paula was asking me, the father she'd betrayed, to potentially save her. My first instinct was to delete the email and forget about it. Paula had made her choices. I'd made mine. We were done. But a 2-year-old with cancer hadn't made any choices. Sophia hadn't betrayed me. She was just a sick kid who needed help. I sat with it for 2 days, called Dr. Williams and talked it through. What do you want to do? She asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to help because she's my granddaughter and she's sick. Part of me wants to refuse because it would hurt Paula and I want Paula to hurt the way she hurt me. That's honest. So which part do you want to listen to? The question isn't which part I want to listen to, it's which part I can live with. Can I live with refusing to help a sick child because I'm angry at her mother? Can I live with myself if Sophia dies because I wouldn't get tested? Can you? No, I don't think I can. I got tested. Went to the hospital, gave liquids, filled out forms. They said results would take a week. I didn't tell Paula I was testing, didn't respond to her email, just did it and waited. 5 days later, the call came. I was a match. Not perfect, but close enough that I was viable as a donor. The transplant coordinator explained the process. It would involve surgery, general anesthesia, recovery time. There were risks, though minimal, for a healthy adult. When do you need an answer? I asked. We need to schedule soon. The child's condition is stable, but could deteriorate. Sooner is better. I'll do it, I said. We'll need to contact the family. I am the family. The patient is my granddaughter. Her mother is my daughter, Paula Harper. The coordinator paused. I see. We'll coordinate with the family then. Thank you for being willing to donate. I hung up and sat in my condo feeling something crack open inside me. I was going to save Sophia. But that meant seeing Paula again, meant being connected to this family I'd cut off. The hospital contacted Paula. She called me immediately. Dad, they said you're a match. They said you're willing to donate. Is that true? Yes. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're saving her life. I'm doing it for Sophia, not for you. I know. I understand. But still, thank you. I'll do the donation. But that doesn't mean we're reconciled. That doesn't mean I forgive what you did. I'm helping a sick child. That's all. I understand. Whatever terms you want. Just thank you. The surgery was scheduled for 3 weeks out. I went through the pre-op appointments, the health screenings, the counseling sessions where they made sure I understood the risks and was doing this voluntarily. The day of the surgery, Paula was at the hospital with Brandon. She tried to hug me when she saw me. I stepped back. Don't, I said. Right. Sorry. I'm so grateful. How's Sophia? She's stable, waiting for the transplant. The doctors are optimistic. Good. We sat in awkward silence until they called me back. The surgery went smoothly. They extracted bone marrow from my hip, processed it, prepared it for transplant. I woke up sore and groggy, was kept overnight for observation. Paula visited my room, stood in the doorway looking uncertain. They're transplanting the marrow tomorrow morning, she said. The doctors are confident it will take. Good. Dad, I know you don't want to talk about us, but I need to say something. I was wrong, about everything. I should have talked to you about Mom's unhappiness. I should have tried to get you both to counseling. I shouldn't have helped her have an affair. I convinced myself I was supporting Mom, but I was really just taking the easy path. It was easier to help her sneak around than to confront the real problems. I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I looked at my daughter. She was 32 now, a mother herself, finally understanding that parenting means making hard choices, not enabling bad ones. You hurt me more than Karen did, I said, because you were my daughter. I expected Karen's betrayal by the end, but I never expected yours. I know. I was selfish. I wanted Mom to be happy, and I didn't think about what it cost you. Do you understand now? Now that you're a mother, would you want someone to help Brandon cheat on you? No. God, no. I'd be devastated. That's what you did to me. Paula's tears were real, not manipulative. I know. I can't undo it. But I want to try to make amends. Not to go back to how things were, because we can't. But to build something new, if you're willing. I was quiet for a long time. The anger that had sustained me for 2 years was still there, but it was tired. I was tired. Holding on to hate was exhausting. I can't forgive you, I said finally. Not yet, maybe not ever, but I can be in the same room with you for Sophia's sake. Maybe that's enough for now. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. Paula left. I lay in the hospital bed thinking about choices and consequences, about how betrayal damages trust in ways that never fully heal, about how becoming a grandparent changes your priorities whether you like it or not. Sophia's transplant was successful. The marrow took. Her prognosis improved dramatically. She'd need monitoring for years, but the doctors were optimistic about full recovery. I visited her once in the hospital, saw this tiny girl with tubes and monitors, fighting a disease she was too young to understand. She looked at me with Karen's eyes and Paula's smile, and something in me shifted. I couldn't hate Paula forever. Not when her daughter needed me. Couldn't hold grudges when life was so fragile. Paula and I started talking, cautiously, with boundaries. I didn't ask about Karen. She didn't push for more than I was willing to give. We focused on Sophia, her treatments, her progress, her future. I met Sophia when she was 3, post-recovery. She was shy but sweet, curious about the grandfather she'd never known. I brought her books and toys, visited for short periods, tried to figure out how to be present without being consumed. It wasn't reconciliation, it was something new. A relationship built on truth rather than lies, on clear boundaries rather than assumptions. Paula knew where she stood. I knew where I stood. And Sophia got to have a grandfather who showed up when it mattered. 3 years after the divorce, Karen sent another email. I heard you saved Sophia, that you donated marrow. Thank you for being there for Paula and Brandon when they needed help. I know you did it for Sophia, not for me, but still, thank you. I'm proud of the man you are, even if I destroyed our chance to be together. You deserved better than what I gave you. This time I didn't delete it. I read it, acknowledged that Karen had finally learned something from her mistakes, and moved on. 4 years after the divorce, I met someone. Her name was Catherine. She was a landscape architect, divorced with no kids. We met at a professional mixer, started talking about design and projects, and the conversation flowed naturally. We dated slowly. I was honest about my history, about the betrayal and the anger and the slow process of healing. She was patient, understanding, secure enough in herself to not take my caution personally. I'm not your ex-wife, Catherine said after I'd been particularly guarded about something minor. I'm not going to lie to you or cheat on you, but you have to decide if you're willing to trust again, or if you're going to spend the rest of your life alone because Karen broke something in you. She was right. I had a choice. Stay broken or risk being hurt again. Stay safe and lonely, or be vulnerable and potentially build something real. I chose vulnerable. It was terrifying and uncomfortable, and sometimes I still looked for signs she was deceiving me. But Catherine was patient with my damage, and slowly I learned to trust again. We were married 5 years after my divorce. Small ceremony, close friends, and family. Paula came with Brandon and Sophia. It was awkward, but manageable. We were building something civil, if not close. Karen didn't attend. I didn't invite her, but she sent a card wishing us well, which I appreciated for what it was, acknowledgement that we'd both moved on. Life settled into new patterns. Catherine and I bought a house together, blended our lives, built a partnership based on honesty and communication. I stayed connected to Sophia, watched her grow into a bright, healthy child who called me Grandpa Dan and asked for stories about when her mother was little. Paula and I were cordial. We'd never be close the way we'd been before her betrayal. That trust was gone. But we could be family in a different way, present for important moments, supportive when needed, respectful of boundaries. 6 years after the divorce, I ran into Greg at a restaurant. He was with a woman, looked happy and relaxed. He saw me and his expression went uncertain. "Daniel," he said. "Greg. This is my wife, Maria." I shook her hand. "Nice to meet you." "I didn't know you two knew each other," Maria said. "We don't really," I said. "Greg dated my ex-wife briefly." "Oh," Maria said. "Well, small world." It was awkward for about 30 seconds. Then I excused myself and went back to my table where Catherine was waiting. "That was Greg?" she asked. "Yeah." "How do you feel?" "Nothing. He's just some guy who had an affair with my ex-wife 6 years ago. Doesn't matter anymore." And it didn't. The anger had burned out. The betrayal was history. Karen and Greg were people I used to know who'd hurt me and then faded into irrelevance. 7 years after the divorce, Karen reached out asking if we could meet for coffee. I almost said no, but curiosity won. We met at a neutral cafe. Karen looked older, tired, but at peace. We sat across from each other with lattes neither of us really wanted. "Thank you for meeting me," Karen said. "I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure I would either. What did you want to talk about?" "I wanted to apologize. Really apologize, not just send emails. You deserved better than what I gave you during our marriage and during the divorce. I was selfish and cruel, and I justified terrible behavior by telling myself I deserved happiness. I'm sorry." "Okay. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I needed you to hear it face to face, and I wanted you to know that I'm in therapy now, working on understanding why I did what I did. I'm trying to be a better person than the one who hurt you." "How's that going?" "Hard, but necessary. I'm seeing Sophia regularly now. Paula and I are rebuilding our relationship. I'm trying to be the mother and grandmother I should have been instead of the selfish woman I was." "Good. Sophia's a great kid. She deserves better than what happened." "She does. And so did you. I'm truly sorry, Daniel. I looked at this woman I'd loved for 3 decades, this stranger who'd destroyed our marriage and then faded into my past. I felt nothing but mild sadness for the years we'd wasted. I appreciate the apology, I said. I'm glad you're doing better, but we're not going to be friends. We're not going to have a relationship beyond being Sophia's grandparents at the same events. That's all I can give you. I understand. That's more than I deserve. We finished our coffee making small talk about Sophia and Paula and the weather. Then we parted ways, 2 people who used to be married acknowledging that they'd both moved on. Catherine asked how it went when I got home. Fine, she apologized. I accepted it. We're done. Done as in angry, or done as in at peace? Done as in I don't think about her anymore. She's not my wife. She's not my problem. She's just someone I used to know who taught me hard lessons about trust. That's healthy? It took long enough. 8 years after the divorce, the final support payment went through. $96,000 over 4 years. The last check cleared and I felt a sense of completion. The legal ties were severed. The financial obligations were fulfilled. Karen was truly gone from my life except as Sophia's grandmother. I never spoke to her again except in passing at Sophia's birthday parties and school events. We were cordial, brief, and distant. The rage had burned out years ago, replaced by indifference. Paula and I remained cautiously connected. We'd never be what we were before, but we'd found a new equilibrium. I was Sophia's grandfather. I showed up for important events. I sent gifts and cards. I was present, but not intimate. That was enough. One night, 9 years after the divorce, Catherine asked me if I'd ever forgiven Karen and Paula. I don't know, I said honestly. I'm not angry anymore, but forgiveness implies something I'm not sure I feel. What do you feel? Acceptance. They did what they did. I responded how I responded. We all survived. We're all building different lives now. Maybe that's better than forgiveness. Maybe, Catherine agreed. 10 years after the divorce, I got an email from Mrs. Patterson. I'm moving into assisted living and cleaning out my house. I found a package in my garage that I think was meant for your daughter. It's been there since that night the police came. Would you like me to send it to you? The sewing machine. The antique that I'd brought to surprise Paula for her 30th birthday. It had been sitting in Mrs. Patterson's garage for a decade. Yes, I replied. Send it to me. It arrived 2 weeks later, still wrapped in the moving blankets I'd used to protect it. I unwrapped it carefully. The sewing machine was intact, beautiful, functional. A piece of family history that should have been a gift, but became a symbol of betrayal. I thought about giving it to Paula now, 10 years late. Thought about the gesture meaning something about forgiveness and family. But that felt false. I didn't want grand gestures or symbolic moments. Instead, I gave it to Catherine. It was my grandmother's, I told her. It should stay in the family, but with someone who'll appreciate it for what it is rather than what it represents. Catherine understood without me explaining further. She set it up in her studio, used it for her design work, and the sewing machine became part of a new story instead of being trapped in an old one. That felt right. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation. Just moving forward with what you had and building something new from the pieces that remained. 10 years after that terrible night in Spokane, I looked at my life and saw something I hadn't had during my marriage. Honesty. My relationship with Catherine was built on truth. My relationship with Paula was cautious but clear. My relationship with Sophia was uncomplicated by the past. Everything was real. Nothing was performance. The revenge I got wasn't dramatic or cathartic. It was simply this. I built a better life without Karen than I ever had with her. I found happiness that didn't require lies or secrets or betrayal. I learned to trust again, slowly and carefully, with someone who earned it. Karen lived her life with the knowledge that she'd destroyed something real for something that had turned out to be meaningless. Greg had moved on, Paula had learned hard lessons, and Karen was alone with the consequences of choices she'd made years ago. That was revenge enough. Not destruction, but demonstration. Not punishment, but proof that she hadn't broken me, just redirected me towards something better. Sophia turned 12. We celebrated at Paula's house, the whole family there. Brandon, Paula, me, Catherine, even Karen, awkwardly present in the background. Sophia blew out candles and made a wish and looked at the people around her with innocent eyes that didn't know the complicated history that connected us all. She'd never know about that night 10 years ago when her grandfather almost walked through a door that would have shown him something that couldn't be unseen. She'd never know about the betrayal and the anger and the long road to something resembling peace. She just knew she had a family, complicated, imperfect, but present, and maybe that was enough. That night, driving home with Catherine, I thought about the man I'd been 10 years ago. The man who'd trusted completely and been destroyed by that trust. The man who'd stood in Mrs. Patterson's living room calling the police on his own wife while his world collapsed. That man was gone, replaced by someone harder but wiser. Someone who knew that trust was earned, not given, that love required truth as its foundation, that families could be rebuilt even after being shattered. The revenge wasn't what I'd thought it would be. It wasn't Karen suffering or Paula begging forgiveness or any dramatic reckoning. It was quieter than that. It was me sitting in a car with my wife, heading home to a house we'd bought together, living a life built on honesty, while Karen lived alone with her choices and Paula lived with the knowledge that she'd sacrificed her relationship with her father for a lie. That was the revenge. I'd won by surviving, by rebuilding, by refusing to let their betrayal define my life. They'd lost by destroying something irreplaceable and spending the rest of their lives knowing they'd done it. And somewhere in Spokane, Mrs. Patterson was in assisted living, telling stories about the night she'd stopped a man from walking into a nightmare and maybe, in some small way, saved his life.